Hi, drawing near. Glad to have you here. Wanted to share with you Suzanne's excitement on coming home from her trip to the El Camino, her pilgrimage, her art, and hikes on the trail, and conversations with others, and just the wonderful things that can happen when you're on pilgrimage.
Finished a 2-week retreat experience at Flores del Camino, which is a lovely ancient village from the 1600s. And within this village, this couple, Bertrand and Basha, have created this amazing retreat center. And they opened their home on a regular basis, like, maybe monthly or bi-monthly, to retreat groups, small retreat groups between 8 and 12 people. And their whole focus is on sacred geometry and natural pigments, being on the Camino itself, and the spiritual elements about being on the Camino. And they also lead many walks on the Camino, which is what I did, as well as the retreat part. There's so much to share about this. So the particular retreat I picked was called Sacred Geometry, and it's based on the rose windows and other structural parts of the cathedrals within the Camino specifically. And they have mapped out these rose windows from the beginning of the Camino through Santiago de Compostela. And the city of Leon and Leon Cathedral is the closest to them. And so that's what we visited. And all of the geometry that we did was based on that cathedral. And then so we had the two of them as leaders, as well as they had a woman from England, Clarissa. I do not know her last name. She is also very much into sacred geometry, as well as all the embellishments to it artistically. So she showed us how to do using the gold pens with it, and embroidery, stitching into it, which is the circles within the circles one, as well as gold leafing, where you have to use the special glue and a compass. I did not even attempt that. I worked on other things while some of the group was doing that.
Wow.
And just, so there was a little bit of everything. There was so much in-depth spiritual journeys they led us on, both physically and also in small group circles, and like morning poetry things. We went to a monastery where she invited us to sing, and she sang a song she had written, and then I sang, and then we chanted using a taze. There's so many things I could share. So every day, basically, while we were at the retreat center, the first 8 days, we spent the bulk, like from 10:30 to 1:30, doing sacred geometry, which is all of this drawing with compass and ruler. And it was blowing my mind because I have not used a compass since 10th grade.
Oh, wow.
Cool. So this is someone else's drawing. This is just to show you what it's supposed to look like. And this is how mine came out, which you probably can't really see on that.
Yeah.
So everything is based on a center point. Measuring your paper, whatever size paper you're working on, to know the dimensions, so you don't, obviously go outside your paper shape. This one, maybe you can see with the shading a little bit.
Oh,
But
yeah. Kind of like a mandala.
yes, well, they are. I mean, they're, when you think of a rose window in a cathedral, I'm trying to this is
Like the
kind
one
of,
in Chartres.
but like Chartres, but this is whoops, can't really see, but see, this is the
Gotcha.
inside Lyon Cathedral, and I can send
Mhm.
you some pictures of that. So everyone is just, it's, oh my gosh, the thing that, I mean, I was almost literally in tears the first day because it was just so stressful. Only 3 of us out of the 12 had never done this before. Everybody else had had other classes with Clarissa online or Bertrand online or other people who do this. They've already knew about it. And this is like a thing. I mean, people do this like people do diamond painting. I mean, this is like sacred geometry is like a big deal.
You'll have to send me the
So,
email link, the website link. Oh,
yeah,
that's
so this is the
beautiful.
other windows. And then they made copies of this for us, and they just showed us how to do different kinds of like tracing techniques so that you don't have to redraw it every time, thank goodness.
Good idea.
Yeah, and but there was 2 different ways to do that. One is using the compass and one wasn't. Of course, I always opted for it. So I ran around and did rubbings of things they already had because I was like, I love these shapes, but I just don't have the technical. I mean, I would if I practiced, but off the top of that, just in this one experience, I did not have the practical.
So when you say rubbings, you mean they're 3-dimensional?
Well, they happen to have carvings of things, or like literal carvings. Like one of the classes or retreats they do is of you actually do your own stone carvings of like some of the motifs and stuff. So I was doing rubbings of those. Anything that was 3-dimensional, just so I had something to remember it by. And then we actually went to the monastery where some of these things were, so I could actually take photographs of them, which was cool. So when they say sacred geometry, it's based on 2 different things. It's based on basically the Gothic period and Romanesque. Okay, so again, I don't know if you can see all this.
Yes.
But what the stone outline is for the window, they call the tracings, which that's a word I wouldn't have put for that. But so all of the stonework that holds the glass in place has to be geometrically designed.
Wow.
And has to be then, of course, proportioned to the size that they're going to use in any given building. For me, the biggest takeaway from the tortures of doing it was realizing how many lines it takes to do the final image of what you want. Now, and unless you do it, that might not make sense. But I mean, it's hard for me to show you because I don't have the final.
Did they give you some templates like what you were using at first, like with the original geometry on it that you could use and reuse?
No, we started with a blank sheet of paper.
Oh my heavens.
Up with this when we were done, step by step.
Oh my heavens.
And this is the rose window that we actually visited in Lyon. And I didn't make them very dark because I was trying to make sure. So the light, all the many lines, if I don't know if you can see them, all over the place.
Yeah.
I had to make all those lines to come up with the final compass point to make like each of these individual petals.
Oh my gosh.
So each of those are drawn with a compass, but each compass has to be put on the right point with the right radius to get them.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So my mind was completely blown with all that. When it got to the painting part, I was good. So, like here's 2 different examples. I think I sent the one of this one. Using the natural pigments.
Yes.
Okay. and a little bit of actually watercolor pencil. So it was a combo. The drawing was copies they made for us so we could practice the painting. So that I did not actually construct the form. The form was on the paper to begin with, like you were saying before. So I just the painting. The form itself, I think I already showed you, was this. So that I did draw from scratch, but I haven't painted it yet because I still have to do stuff to the lines. And this is a completely different, it's the exact same drawing of that window, but it's completely different pigments. So this is, so see how some of them are very opaque and some of them are like the reddish one can be very solid looking. And then the more water you add, of course, then you can make it look more watercolor.
I love the richness of the colors in that.
Aren't they amazing? And this is all just from the earth. Like we literally dug these colors out of the earth where we were. We went on a hike to do that one morning.
Oh, I love that.
They love us. They love to take us to places at dawn. So that was, and then we didn't eat dinner till like 7:30 at night. So 7:30 to 8:30, we're eating dinner. And then by 9:30, they're like, okay, we'll see you in the morning. And you're like, okay. And meanwhile, I'm still adjusting to a 6-hour change, which I never really did until like the last few days. And then of course I get home and last night was the first time I had 8 hours sleep. So I finally said, all right, I was exhausted yesterday. I went to bed at 9 o'clock, literally like 5:09, and didn't wake up till 5:05. So that was the first time I've had 8 hours sleep without waking up and getting up. Wow. And it was, I feel like a whole new human being now. Those are the main geometry part of it, which was just so intense. So he had a little wooden plaque with indented lines. So that's what I traced. So this is sort of like based on this. Because before I left, I made, this is another window that they love, which I loved. And I did a silk screen of it where I just did the cutout shapes. And so the lines were the lines color of the shirt. And then all the cutout shapes were white. And so I wore that there. And I made some paper copies to give to people. And Bertram was so funny. He's like, his eyes popped out of his head. He goes, where did you get this? I said, well, I made it. And he goes, what do you mean you made it? And I screened it. So it's so funny how different, like to me, that was like a normal basic thing to do. And for them, it was like magic. And I'm like the same way about their geometry. Like I said, well, that's your magic. I don't, can teach you how to do silk screen. It's a lot easier than this. Let me tell you. I'm still just absorbing. I mean, my body and my mind are here, but my heart and spirit are still in Spain. I'll be honest. So that was the retreat time.
So where did you all walk? I mean, like you said, you went to petroglyphs.
Yes, we went, oh gosh, I probably should go get the itinerary to remember everything. But each day we either went somewhere or something was happening in the village. Like Sunday is the annual, we just happened to be there the week of the village's annual celebration of their patron saint, who is Mary Magdalene.
Oh.
It was amazing. So here are and as Basha always said, the Spanish are very understated. They're more straightforward. They're not flamboyant. They're not, everything is very family, business, you deal with your business, but your family comes first, at least in these little villages. And so these costumes, quote unquote, have been handed down for generations and generations. How they keep them, they must keep them in ways that, they can't be destroyed. I'm sure they mend them and, restitch them or whatever. And for the new little kids, they probably make them from scratch. I don't know. There's a little boy and girl that, couldn't have been more than 3 and 5. And they were in these, and they're black mostly with a lot of red, yellow, white, decorative embroidery and lace, and the men and the women both are in these costumes, and which would have been, they wouldn't be costumes, they would be the dress of the day back
Yes.
when.
Yes.
And they're also on the website. I think I sent you the link to the original week, right? The original program, I
I don't
think.
think so.
No, all right. Well, I'll double check, but I can send you that too. So that was that Sunday, and so Saturday. So here's the teeny village. It probably has like 100 people in it year round, and so all these other family members and other people are coming for this festival, right? So they're up till 11 and 12 midnight, and partying and practicing, and they had, there's a little village park at one end of the town, and they had like a DJ and like regular modern music going on. It was just so funny. And then so anyway, so on the day they have mass, of course, but they have this parade that goes through the village several times. And the first time it's a practice, and they're all in costume, and it's one drummer, one flautist, and a bunch of castanets, and they're all playing these castanets to this rhythm. It's just, it was so cool. It was so beautiful. And then they go into the church, and the priest, I happened to go in then. It wasn't the mass, it was like the parade part before the mass. And so the priest was saying whatever he was saying in Spanish, of course. And then next thing you know, they're bringing out Mary Magdalene, statue. She's probably like, I don't know how tall, like maybe 3 feet tall.
Wow.
And real hair, somebody, I don't know,
Wow.
and costume, and she's on a leader, so people are carrying her, and it's women that carry her. And yeah, it's just really cool. So I have a couple pictures I can send you. So that was that Sunday. And then I don't remember if we went, where else did we go out? Oh, and they give us a map of the village and like the different trails you could go on. So, people wanted to walk when we weren't doing something, which was either after dinner or pre-dawn. Or we usually got around an hour for lunch, I guess. Maybe 2 hours. Yeah, from like, 1:30 to 3. Usually by 3 we were doing something again. So it was a real retreat in that sense. It was like, there was no, I mean, obviously everything was by invitation, and Bosch and Bertram were just so just gave that invitational, deep retreat presence of, you're here for you, but you're also here for this reason. So, we invite you to do everything, but if you need to do what you need to do, then go do it. Right.
Yeah.
But you could just tell, especially Basha, she just wanted everybody to experience everything in a very sweet, understated kind of way. And they're doing all this and like refurbishing this amazing place like for the last 10 years, and having children, and doing retreats on a regular basis. I was like in awe, to be honest. Wow. I mean, I think of all the time, Gary and I did all the, camps and retreats and things we did over with our kids. It wasn't in our home, and it wasn't, their home is the retreat center, and because it's Spain, probably like Italy and other warmer places, it's out, everything's like outside yet inside. It's so hard to describe. Like there's no roofs in some parts of the facility, or they've got them covered with like tarps, or like either cloth or plastic, or both, depending for the weather. There's like a hammock hanging out between 2 trees. And everything's like these, all the ground is covered with rocks. And by rocks, I mean they're rocks in place with, cement or whatever's holding them together since ancient times. So some sort of sand rock mixture. And so it's all like cobbly, but not cobbly as in bricked patterned. They're like freeform patterns. Like you'll all of a sudden be walking the village and like one little area, all of a sudden you'll see someone had made a circle with a star out of the rocks. And that been there for who knows how long, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. So, oh, and the other cool thing was every church in these little villages almost looks the same. They have that flat front with the upper square and the lower squares with open windows in all 3, 4. It's, again, I'll throw you a picture. On top of almost every church in every one of these little villages we went to has a gigantic stork nest.
Oh, really?
They have storks like eagles and herons. So these giant storks are like hang out on all the churches. It's so
Is
funny.
that why
so
on the
cool.
one picture you have like a bird on top of the shells? On top of the shell?
Yes. No, that's a goose. That's another symbol for the Camino is the goose.
Oh.
Beside the shell. Yes. And I have to look it up again. I don't remember the whole story about it, but I knew that the goose was a symbol after she sent the last email with some prep to what to get ready for the Camino. So, and when I was at my mom's house and I'm going through all the desk drawers and whatever and bureaus and she had this teeny ceramic goose. Because one of the invitations is to bring a rock or memento from home to leave at the Cruz de Ferro, which is the Iron Cross, which is the highest point on the St. Francis Camino, which is what we hiked to. And then you could leave, your things there, whatever you brought. And people have left all kinds of things, including urns and everything. I mean, it's massive. Oh. I can send you a picture of that too. But so I brought that with me and a shell from Jersey and a rock from Lake Erie. And those are the things I left. And I have a photo of that. So anyway, so every day, so that one time we went to these petroglyph rocks of, drawings of, carved in from the 4,500 years ago.
Wow.
So, and it was like the basic cup digging and cup shapes that you see in a lot of petrographs all over the world, but they also had the concentric circles or the more quote unquote oval vulva shaped lines.
Uh-huh.
And then they had actual, you could see the ancient labyrinths, the classic 7-circle labyrinth. And we got there before dawn so that when the sun hit the rock, you could see it would create a strong enough, lighting effect so you could see them better. And then they also had what did they call them? A dolomite, which is a carving. It's either a rock formation that was natural, or they're thinking that humans took whatever shape was there and then continued to carve into it as a safe place to be, kind of like a small cave thing. So that was there too. And where the village is, where Flores del Camino village, in that village, is kind of like the point where the Camino shifts from being flat and more deserty plains into the foothills of the mountains. And then that's where we started walking, literally from out their front door of the village on our Camino part, because the Camino comes like about a mile and a half from the village. So, and then we went about, I think we figured it out. It was like 26 miles worth of climbing or hiking in 3 days on the Camino itself. And then the 4th day we spent in the Valley of Silence, which is this little village, which is more built up, like, because it's all hilly and they're built up on top of each other and they're surrounded by mountains, kind of like the Swiss Alps. The mountains aren't so high that they have snow on them all year, but they do have snow in the winter. So, but in the summer, of course, it's all greens and beiges and browns and golds. just like, the kind of mountains that just have so much presence and energy. I mean, you can just feel the reverberation, at least I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hiked to the cave of a real cave that this monk had found that was, I don't even remember what century it was now. And he was hanging out there, and the story goes that he went there to be away from everything and to pray and meditate and live there. And he used to complain to God that the river was too loud, the birds were too noisy. So it was kind of funny. So then the church took him out of there and put him back into, more of a political role at the time. I don't remember his title, but he had to be a magistrate of something in the church at the time. But and I should know the name of the monk, but I don't. And anyway, those kind of things are not sticking in my head. But this is the credentials. Peregrino. That's I'm a peregrino. We're pilgrims. So this is the credentials of the pilgrims, and this is the every day people, whether it was where you stayed or restaurants or churches, all had stamps.
Oh,
and then
wow.
you get a stamp from every place that you stayed. And
Cool.
then we were only there for 3 days, so we only had that many stamps. And I missed a couple because I don't know, I just was, so there's probably 2 more I could have gotten that I just missed. But anyway, so they gave us this map of what, where we were hiking from when we left their house, as it were, there down to here. So this was up to the Iron Cross, and then back down. It says how many kilometers we went. So
Wow.
1, 2 days, 3 days, and then on the flip side it has about the once we go up and down the mountain, we actually took a van ride over to the Valley of Silence, and to the cave, the Cueve of San Genadio. Right. So, and it's in the town of Peñaba. It's hard to say. Peñaba de Santiago, and which is where we were down there the last 2 nights. So we were in the same place for 2 nights.
Cool.
The other 3 nights we were in a different place each night when we were on the Camino. So that's that. And they gave us each a shell to put on our backpacks. So that was, yeah. And then 2 of the gals from Britain, one Penny and Wendy, they put together this cute little journal booklet for us. And I just added stuff to it, but they put some things in it. And it was the last day, or the last night before we left. They made these themselves, and they just got them from scraps from different things we'd been doing. And one of the napkins at one of the restaurants on the Camino had this little image on it, so I ripped that out.
Cool.
The usual with journaling, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This is on a water bottle.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I know. I did some rubbings of the coins, and business card that had some cool feathers on it, so I took that one. But so yeah, it was. And the other cool thing was, no, there's so many cool things. What am I saying? When I left the things I did at the top of the Iron Cross, it was very weird because it was sort of interrupt my time up on this area was interrupted by 2 guys on bikes. It was amazing how many bikers are doing the Camino, especially now with electric bikes, because going up some of these hills, there's no way. And the road, because we had 2 of our, well, it ended up being 3, but 1 person, then 2, then 3. After each of the day's hike, couldn't really physically do them after that. We had 1 gal with us, was 82 years old. And she hiked,
Wow.
I know, she hiked the hardest day, but then the next day she was hurting too much. So she joined the taxi with the other two people. So anyway, so you can literally drive. It is so weird because sometimes you're walking on the path and here's the road, and here's cars zooming by, or here's somebody on their, electric bike. So it's the ancient and the modern are totally intertwined. It's very interesting.
So I could have gone. There
You
was
could go on.
transportation. Next time
I,
I'll go with you.
right? Yeah, that was not an option in the literature.
Oh,
So, but
but you were
yeah.
saying your time at the cross was interrupted by.
Yeah, I was there, and I was, looking for a place to leave the stuff for me and my mom and all that, and I'm there, and I was took a picture of the stuff I left just to have it, and the area a little bit, and these two guys, um Spanish speaking. First I thought they were speaking Italian, but then I realized it was Spanish. Like like basically like barreled up this sacred place on their bikes, right? And then I thought, okay, good, they'll go back down and I can, have a few moments to myself. And I mean, there was other pilgrims coming and going,
Sure.
don't get me wrong, perfectly fine, but they were there for the same reason I was. And then I thought, okay, good, they're finally leaving. They start to go down the hill, and then they had somebody else taking. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like so not why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
So finally I gave up and I walked around the other side of this big monument and walked down towards the little church that was on the green down below. And as I was walking down the path out, it was just like a normal, like different kinds of rocks were just, strewn. It wasn't like people's sacred or memento stuff. And I looked down and there was just this totally smooth black rock on top of like a whole bunch of other stuff. And I was like,
Right.
huh. And I looked at it and I picked it up because I wanted to make sure it wasn't something that somebody had left on purpose. And as far as I could tell, I don't know where it came from or what kind of rock it is, but it felt like it was okay to take it. So I did. So this was sort of like my memento back
Beautiful.
from being up there. So that's what that was about. So everybody was very, very kind, very supportive. Still, could get silly and crazy, stuff, but for the most part, yeah, everybody was just very. We were all there for the same reason, and everybody was very supportive and looked out for each other. It was really nice. It was so nice to just not have to think about anything.
Yeah.
To be totally, taken care of by these two lovely, well, three, Clarissa, Basha and Bertrand. It was just really interesting because then, they would open up a little more because we're all sharing all kinds of stuff with each other as, things happen when you're on retreat together, right? And so there was the whole, besides all the, the art and spirit and interactions and experiences, there was, the whole human element and the group element too that was going on. So, yeah. I mean, obviously there's tons and tons more I could talk about, but I think I'm good.
You look refreshed. You look filled. You look like taken care of. You look great. You're shining.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the first few days though, I was really in a funk for a lot of reasons, both physically exhausted, but also it's like, when you work for something for a year and a half, and then all the other stuff that went on in that last year and a half, and then you're there and you're giving it your all because you don't want to waste a second of being there. And then you're back and it's like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't even know how to begin to process all this. That's why I said, my body and my mind are here, but my heart and spirit are still there. And I just feel so grateful to Basha and Bertrand for doing what they're doing. I mean, I feel like all the retreats that I've done, you and I have done, other people, and we try so hard to get people to drop down, right? To get people to let go, to go deeper, to just be in God's presence. And they were able to do all that without expecting anyone to be spiritually any particular place or any particular place. So I think that was I think they're, God's gifted them with that for sure. But she is very, very connected heart and soul to the Camino, which is why they bought this place here on the Camino. That was really important to them. That's what they wanted to do, to have these retreats.
Wow.
Because they could have had them in France, they could have had them in England, they could have had them in Poland,
Sure.
but I think he's only walked sections of the Camino, but she's walked the whole thing. And then the villages, not maybe the ones we're in. Well, the one was a little more quote unquote commercial, but they're small, they have like 2 or 3 or 4 little restaurant / bars / cafes, whatever they're called. And, one church up to 3 churches, depending on how big the village is. And most of them you can walk around in anywhere from a half hour to an hour and a half max. You could walk down every street if you wanted to. And these are people who serve pilgrims. I mean, this is what they do, and when it's not pilgrim season, I don't know what they do. I mean, then the village becomes very small, I guess, kind of like the one that they have their retreat center in. Or you go into the big cities. I don't know. It's really interesting, and there's no rhyme or reason to when things are open or closed. Things will be open really early for like morning coffee, and then other times they'll close all afternoon, like they'll be open. They'll close from 2 to 5, but then other ones will be open from 2 to 5 and then close till 9. Or it's just yeah. It was like every day we were like, you hit and miss on the Camino, like which place was open or wasn't open, depending on what time we got there. Although most of them were open earlier instead of later, because most pilgrims, if you don't get to where you want to stay by 3 or 4 o'clock, you may be out of a bed.
Wow.
So it behooves you to get up pre-dawn and get moving. Plus for the heat.
Sure.
It was hot, especially the first week at the retreat center. It was high 80s and low 90s every day. So that was tough.
Are there tourists that come and do their own thing, like during the day?
On the Camino, you mean? Or just in general?
Yeah, they just come to walk the Camino on their own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would say it's kind of like the Appalachian Trail, right? You have through hikers who, this is what they're doing. They are going to walk the whole Appalachian Trail, right? They're going to start in Georgia and end of story, camp along the way. Then you have people who do segments, like they'll drive in, do this segment, drive out, drive in, or pick them up or whatever. And then you have just casual weekend people who, happen to be somewhere near some segment of the Appalachian Trail, and they'll go, go for a little hike, have a picnic, whatever. So I'm sure there's a little bit of everything like that. There's the pilgrims who have started at the beginning and are going to the end. And, and you can usually tell them because they have that look about them, and they have that, weariness and yet determination, and, and look like they've been on the road for day after day after day, and then you have other people who you could like us who, did segments and, did a segment. So we don't look quite as dusty and weary as others. And then there's, the people who could just Now, I don't know if you could drive the whole way. I'm not, I mean, there's probably ways you can weave in and out, you know, above, below, around, to get to wherever. Just some of the segments we were on, it was, you could obviously drive because we had people who could take a taxi, if they needed to. She of course encouraged us to walk the whole way,
Sure.
you know, but if you can't, you can't, right? So yeah, there wasn't that many. Like the last village we ended up in where we had a late lunch, and then they drove us from there to the Valley of Silence. That one was a bigger town. Like that one, you know, there was a river going through it, and people. It happened to be a Sunday or Monday. Maybe it was a Monday. Anyway, there were people, you know, swimming in the river and picnicking and hanging out, and, you know, all kinds of hubbub going on in the city streets itself. Just, you know, like a kind of like a tourist town in Cape Cod, or, you know what I mean? Like it was that kind of a feel to it. But again, lunch didn't open till like 2. They were open like 2 to 5. That was it. The place we ate at. That was right by the river, which was kind of nice. Yeah. So lots of details like that. So I can send you dozens and dozens of pictures, but it was so cool. Yep. And so again, they just very understated. It was just like, this is what we do once a year. This is our patron saint. This is, you know, we carry her around, we dress up, we play the music, and then we go eat with our families. I mean, it was like not anything commercial at all.
Love it.
No people selling flags or doodads or, you know, none of that crap. It was all very, very, you know, this is it. And
Love it.
yeah, it was Lyon is a big city, and, you know, with the big cathedral and lots of touristy stuff, and, you know, and other stuff, but it was kind of a shock after being in a retreat center in a teeny village for a week. So and a little exhausting, just because we had to drive to get there. But first we drove to a place where we walked 2 miles to the monastery, and then, except for the 2 people that had to be driven there for health or physical limitations. And yeah, I had no idea. If I had any clue that, you know, that would be accommodated, I didn't know. But and I don't know if they paid for the taxis each time. They probably did.
They probably did. Yeah, they probably did.
Yeah. So, but, you know, that's part of the thing. Although I think to the monastery, not necessarily, because they had to bring us to the walking spot, and then they went on to the actual. And actually, that happened with one of the other, when we went to the petroglyphs. The van that took us to a certain spot, and then we walked from there again, and then they went a little bit further with the people who couldn't walk that distance. So they, you know, I think throughout the week they tried to accommodate that. And I don't know if they had explained that before they arrived, that, you know, those things, I don't know.
So I have to save up, and we have to decide where we're going next year.
I mean, part of me would love to go back there. It would be interesting to see what things they offer in the next few years, because that might make a difference. Yeah. I think sacred geometry will always be a part of it, because that's who they are. You know, maybe not the whole week like we had. Maybe it'd be like a day or 2, not, you know, every day. So that would be interesting. And I know she'd always do the thing with the pigments, because that's her big thing. And and whatever else, and the Camino, I think they would do different tastes of, and different focuses, but I know a lot of the highlights that they would do would probably be similar.
Yeah.
Because one of the gals who was there, the one from Switzerland, she was there 2 years ago, and a number of the things that she had done 2 years prior. So, but that, she still wanted to be there again, and she wanted to walk the Camino, because they didn't used to do mini trips, or maybe they did, but I didn't know that, because when I first looked and learned about it, I didn't see that. I did see one where I think they do like a longer stint on the Camino, but that's like a separate thing where you just do the Camino with them, if I remember. But you can look at their website. I mean, yeah, I don't know if there's other places like that in the world, but it just was like the perfect combo for me, because to do art and be on the Camino was like, perfect.
And the perfect time for you.
Yeah, and she kept asking some of us, she's just, so are you gonna walk the whole thing now? That's like, I don't think so. I mean, part of me would like to.
You were there 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. You did walk a lot of it, didn't you?
The Camino?
Yeah.
No.
Weren't you there before?
I was gonna walk the whole thing. No, I've never been there before. This is my first time.
Oh.
What we did was we went to Italy, we walked the St. Francis Trail in Italy.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Shalem and SDI have different pilgrimages that you can do, different places.
Oh, okay.
They have a series, and you can pick and choose different trips that they have.
Are they in the States as well as Europe or wherever?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Lots of different places.
Okay.
So we'll have to see what they offer too, and see what.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to go to someplace else. I mean, there's plenty of places, and I know, especially I think in the Southwest, you can join up with some of the Native American folks who have pilgrimages and things like that.
I'd love to do the Red Rocks in New Mexico. I have never been there for that.
Yeah.
It would be gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll have to look around.
It's interesting that you say that. One of our people on the trip, oh my gosh, some of these people, all the things they did and the talents, catch up. Okay, here's something that's the goofiest thing of all, right? Okay, as an artist or anybody doing work on paper, if you're doing work on paper, you're trying, unless it's an intentional reason to cut into the paper, right? If you're doing something on the surface of a paper, you would try very difficultly not to make rips or tears or punctures, right? I mean, that would just be your instinct, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here I am trying to use a compass without poking the paper.
I was going to ask you about that, putting the hole in the paper where the point goes in.
Not only do you do it, it's important. Oh, my battery's about to go.
Are you not allowed to put the?
You're supposed to pierce the paper, but here I am instinctively trying not to. So here I am trying to draw steady circles and arches without moving. So I'm holding it with one and trying. Oh my God! And Wendy, thank bless her, was sitting next to me, and she goes, Can I suggest something? I said, sure, please do. And she goes, well, it would be helpful if you actually, pierce the paper and put a hole. I said, you're allowed to pierce the paper. And it was like, it was so funny. Like later we talked about it, I just laughed and laughed. I said, oh my gosh. And so she goes, yeah, she goes, and actually on the ruler, if you take the point and make a little dig right at the edge of the first line, that way you can always find it when you go to spread out the compass.
Oh.
I mean, all of these little things that that would be like, counting in Spanish, the first day. It's like, uno, dos. I mean, that's how pathetic I was when it came to not knowing anything. And the compasses they gave us were really decent compasses as far as I'm concerned. They may not have been the super, super high tech, but they were, you had levers that you could push in that would make you do the big movement. But then once you got it close, then you would line it up and then you turn the little dial to get it exactly on where. And then that's supposed to hold it. So then every time you don't have to pierce a hole everywhere, but they even made the point of saying like, okay, so when you, like say you had to make arches like outside your circle to know where a line was going to be in the circle, all these things that to them would be like, day one horsey ducky stuff. And for me, it would be like, oh, okay. And so then you get your ruler and they say, and you're lined up when you feel that satisfying into your center hole. And I'd be like, oh my God. And of course, I didn't really learn this till like the second day or third day. So I was like, oh my gosh. It would have made life a lot easier if I had gone ahead and put holes in my paper. Oh my gosh. Well, and then when we got to the point of doing the embroidery, it was like, oh, duh, because then I have like a hole for each point, right? So it made so much more sense, and I everybody just did their own thing. I did a really simple one because I just
And that looks like a quilting pattern, a quilt star.
It does, doesn't it? Well, this pattern is the classic seed of life or flower of life pattern. And it's like the baby, it's like the first birthing of natural geometry. Wow. So getting this 6-petaled flower is by overlapping the compasses is kind of like start of learning how to do it, day one. And then from there, you do all these other things. So you learn where they overlap. You learn where they just touch. You learn where they create ovals instead of circles. Like this one, the center part is the oval shape, and then I had to measure out to get the lines for each of these, because you notice these two are rounded, but these two are pointed, right?
Yeah.
So that means totally different compass points and radiuses, and you have to go from one side to get the one line, and then you have to go from the other side to get the other line, and then you have to go from the other side to get the curve go this way, and the other side for the curve to go that way.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So, it's, and then I did a lot, and then I traced the shell and the rock, which was kind of a heart-shaped rock, on here freehand. The only thing that I did with a compass is this outline and this center part. And then all these other lines and shells and hearts and stuff, I just drew freehand. Because
amazing.
And it was funny because what were we doing? On one of the days, we got to the certain point where, I don't know what we were doing. Was it this one? Could have been this one, which is so complicated. But anyway, we were supposed to do inner. So after you have your main line, you're supposed to, make a little narrow thing on one side and the other to give it that 3D look. Mm-hmm. And after I got the basic hoops done, and I was supposed to go back and redraw them and get the measurements for the little teeny weeny whatever. So I said, oh, screw this. Just drawing them in. was so beyond, like, at one point, Bertrand said, he goes, well, you could draw them freehand. And, it just depends on how exacting you want to be. And like, well, that's about as exacting as I can handle today. But some of them and they're whipping that compass around and remeasuring and I'm like, oh my gosh. It was like the dance of the compass,
Oh, wow.
It was like doing ballet with a compass, and I'm there trying to do jazz, It just wasn't.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing this so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for listening. It sort of helps to help me process it all. It really does. It's so much. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Yeah. So I basically have between now and the end of the year to just kind of regroup and figure out what
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, I could just look at this as like a 2-week wonderful, rejuvenating experience and just let it be. But I also get the sense that I should be doing something with it, for it, either
Play.
for others. Yeah.
Just play.
Yeah. Just play for sure. Yeah. Gosh, is that allowed?
Yes. We get our most brilliant
Really?
contemplative experiences and communication with spirit by just playing.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you that.
Well, sometimes you do. I shouldn't have to be told that, but yes, I still need to be told that. It's okay just to live and be and breathe and experience, and that's all that it needs to be.
I give you permission to play.
Thank you. I will take that to heart. All right, my dear, I am definitely dying here. So
all right, sweetie.
We'll go and take care, and good luck with editing.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing too.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I love talking with Suzanne about anything for hours, especially her pilgrimages and her experiences. Who knows? We may be able to take a pilgrimage together in the future. We love doing retreats together and leading them and taking them. So it should be fun. So I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. When we get up to 50 subscribers, it'll be neat to be able to do some lives. So I'll be able to chat with you all on a live at that time. Don't forget to check out drawingnearer.com, where you can sign up for a subscription to join us together in a Zoom room doing some playful prayer practices once a week together, or also sign up for some group or one-on-one spiritual direction together. All right, I hope to see you there soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until we see each other again, God bless.